Greetings, friends of Clarendon United Methodist Church. We have surely missed you over the last 8 months, and we pray that each and every one of you and those that you love are well. Today marks the beginning of the holy season of Advent, a time of preparation for the birth of Jesus Christ, Christmas. For many of us, one particular event has marked this special day each year, the annual Messiah Sing-Along. This tradition was started in 1971 by Dr. J. Riley Lewis when he arrived as the organist and choirmaster at Clarendon UMC. Riley had a passion for bringing people together to share in the joy of music making, particularly to the glory of God. And it is our passion to continue that legacy. While we may not be able to hold the 49th annual Messiah Sing-Along in the usual way, we thought it was important that we share something of what makes it so special. We appreciate and thank you for your support of the artistic ministries of Clarendon United Methodist Church. And on behalf of Pastor Tracy McNeil Wines, the rest of the staff, and the whole congregation of Clarendon UMC, I wish you a blessed and joyous Christmas season.
So I met Riley in the fall of 2007 when my wife and I first moved to Greater DC. It was when I first started working at Peabody in the musicology department. And as we were preparing to move to the area, I was given a few names by my friend Mark Dwyer. As I was coming to the area, Mark was leaving the area to go back to Boston to take the job of organist at the Advent. And at the top of that list was Riley. And I reached out to him and went to sing for him in September of '07 for the Bach consort, and we immediately hit it off. He did ask me if I would come down and be his soloist for this Messiah Sing in the fall of '07. It would have been the first Sunday of Advent, whether it was November or December, I can't remember that year. But that was the first time that I was part of the Messiah Sing, so it was within my very first months in the area. And one of the very first solo experiences that I had with Riley. And then after that, of course, we worked together quite closely at the Bach consort, most specifically, and in a number of other contexts within those intervening 9 years before his passing in 2016. But the Clarendon Messiah Sing is one of my earliest collaborations with him, and one that will always be very fondly remembered for that reason.
Well, I was raised here from the age of about 3.5, maybe, when my father returned from Rochester. And so we grew up in this church. I 4 siblings, and we all sang in the different choirs. And my father was the organist and choir director. My mother was leading the cherub choir. And she was in the choir, and the church was our life. My father had some heart attacks. His goal was always to have Riley, so he lobbied very, very hard to have Riley take over on both with the music committee and with Riley, that this would be just the right spot for him. Riley was a figure in our home. He had dated my little sister. He had played piano duets with my father for quite some time. And Riley would call frequently to talk to my father or whatever. And one day when I answered the phone, I said, why don't you ever ask me to play your Messiah Sing? And he said, well, I don't really need a flute for the Messiah. At which point I laughed and said, well, I'm a violin player. So then I became part of the crew that spent 4 hours on Saturday morning before the Messiah Sing, marking these parts with every little nuance, and we gave our time, of course, and I learned how to approach this music, and it was a gift from him to teach all of us what he knew and share it in the Messiah Sings.
I started coming to the Messiah Sing pretty much right away after I was in the Bach consort. He mentioned it in rehearsal. I said, that's for me. I had sung sing-alongs with my dad before that in high school, and Messiah was always a big deal for us in our family because my dad had sung at the Naval Academy, which is another connection that Riley and I had. It's a Naval Academy background. Dad had sung solos there as a midshipman, and I always wanted to sing solos, and I always liked doing the sing-alongs with Dad. So I started coming, I guess it was 81. And I think I've missed, I honestly don't think I've missed a Christmas one. I was soloist for 3 different Christmas sing-alongs and one Easter portion. And that was very special to me because my wife was the soprano soloist for that one. Mary and I have been coming here for almost 30 years. Wow. Again, let's not talk about the years. But coming here has meant the world. I mean, it's not only the beginning of the Christmas season. It's so we can get away from the house and not keep eating turkey. It's so we can come and relax at the end of what is usually a pretty busy 4 days of socializing. I love hearing Denny and Chuck do the trumpet prelude. I could go on and on, but it has meant the world to us. And again, I don't think I've missed one Christmas one. I really don't.
I think you don't realize what a blessing choral singing is until you experience it. That collective joy and just how the energy and the thrill of the sound and making music with others, and it doesn't matter at what level one sings. It's not exactly happy birthday, but when you come and do one of these sing-alongs, there's always someone there who knows what they're doing, and you can lean and enjoy the things that you not only love to hear, but you have the experience of singing them. And I think that's fabulous.
You know, I think it's so many things, and I think they are important to the communities that host them and that foster these opportunities. I mean, that certainly has been the case with Clarendon in hosting this Messiah Sing for so many years. I think, you know, it's always an opportunity for a community to sort of open wide its doors and to invite as many people as possible in to experience something that can happen in that space and that is fostered by the community in that space. To individuals, I think the importance is also essential. I mean, I think these become traditions. They become opportunities to gather with family and friends. I mean, even in the time that I've been associated with the Messiah Sing, I mean, there are people that I will only see once a year at that event. But it's always like a homecoming of sorts, you know, and it's a way to mark the passage of time and helps us to construct memory. And it's all so important. And I think it's something that music making is so powerful in all of those ways, in constructing memory and remembering and mourning and celebrating. So, I mean, I think it touches on so many things. It's about so much more than just singing the score, you know.
I think that community is the be-all and the end-all of musical performance. I feel very strongly about that. When we all started to sing in a community. It was either in church or at school. I certainly didn't start off to be a professional soloist, but I became one. But it was because of my association with community singing and people telling me there that I should sing solo, and enough people telling me that to make me believe that they were probably right. And then I did it, but it all started with singing in community situations, and probably Messiah was the very first. Singing is so personal and so immediate for everybody that it only makes sense to have it be a group thing.
I remember one year we were with the Messiah Sing at Clarendon when I wasn't soloing, but we had a Bach concert rehearsal the same night downstairs that Scott Detcher was running. Riley at one point came down from the sanctuary and said, "Oh, we're going to do the Hallelujah chorus. All of you should come up. Let's just stop rehearsing." So the whole Bach concert went upstairs, and we filled the choir stalls, and sang the Hallelujah chorus at the end of the sing along, and that was also a really lovely memory. And of course, all of us were sort of groaning at the time, like, "Oh, I've been singing for 2 hours. I don't want to go." We've sung 53 Hallelujah choruses this season, but we all did it. And and of course, once we were up there, it was such fun, and he just transformed all of our kind of cynicism into extraordinary joy and enthusiasm for the moment.
The most fun was getting through rehearsals, getting everything done, getting all the arias done, and still getting out on time to be able to go out and come back in. And that was always fun, because we worked as a music director and a contractor. So we were used to sort of butting heads in the best friendly way. So those were always funny times, and over-rehearsing some things and under-rehearsing others, but always knowing we were going to have a good time at the end.
Richard is rocking it too, as far as I'm concerned. I have to say, one of the really important things about doing this is the reception. The reception is amazing. and we never eat dinner before coming here. Because, like I say, we're stuffed full of turkey anyway. But we always wait and just, we talk to soloists, talk to Richard, talk to everybody downstairs. That's like, that puts the stamp on the weekend.
It goes without saying that it's been a tremendous honor for me. I hold Riley, in my estimation, right at, the top of the sort of pyramid of mentors who have influenced who I am. And to have the opportunity to continue his legacy in this way is just, it means more to me than I can actually put in words. It's a big legacy to try to live into, and I would never delude myself into thinking that I am providing a sort of substitute for what Riley offered. But everything that I remember of him and all the ways that he helped me to grow, yearly when I come back to Clarendon, always inspire me to try to get a little bit closer, knowing that I'll never quite come up to the mark. But so it's a huge honor for me, and also to have been embraced and supported by the community of singers and players that gather there every year has been so deeply meaningful to me. And it'll be very different this year, because it becomes part of the cycle of my life. It's sort of like, Advent 1 or the Sunday after Christmas, the Sunday after Thanksgiving, whichever comes first. It's always sort of the way that I mark the transition into this particular time of the year, and I will miss that. I'll miss that a lot this year, to be certain.
Glory to God, glory to God, glory to God in the highest, and peace on earth. Goodwill toward men, towards
The Messiah Sing actually got started because Riley had been spending some time in New York after he went to Juilliard, and he heard about a Messiah Sing-Along. And of course, most of you that have been to the Messiah before have heard this story probably about 1,000,000 times, but anyway, so he went to the Messiah Sing-Along, and he didn't know what it was about, and he walked in and didn't have a score. So he, was looking around, and there was a rabbi sitting next to him, and the rabbi said, "Hey, you need a score?" And he's like, "Well, yeah." And the rabbi was like, "Here, have mine. I have it memorized." And so that sort of started this whole feeling of bringing people together. It doesn't matter who they are, what faith. It's just this magnificent, powerful piece of music that unites people, and especially when you're all singing together. So that's basically what got him to decide to start it at Clarendon. And since then, it's been a spectacular success of bringing all sorts of people from all walks of life, singers, non-singers, just good people together to share in this moment of incredible, exquisite music. He loved his community. He loved the Washington, D.C. metro area. And he, even though he could have been a famous musician and gone off to all sorts of other places or fancier churches or whatever, what really spoke to him was his community at Clarendon and his community in the musical scene in Washington, D.C. And so he just devoted his entire life to giving incredible musical experiences to everyone, and he was amazingly successful, touching people's lives and hearts and uplifting people from dark places and inspiring young musicians. And he just loved it, and he just wanted to stay here and do the most beautiful job he could. And that's why he got Washingtonian of the Year, because he really devoted himself to this community musically. Basically, the way he got the whole thing going was he copied what he saw in New York. And so he wanted an orchestra, and he wanted soloists. That was the important thing. And he also, quite frankly, really liked people mixing so that families could stay together and that sort of thing. What he did was, because he was the keyboard artist at the time for the National Symphony, working under Antal Dorati, he was, constantly taking the NSO musicians aside, and they'd go to this woman Dee's house on Capitol Hill, and they would, after classical concerts, they would get together and play Baroque music. And so it was sort of this need of these professional musicians to still want to do Baroque music, even though they were in this symphony orchestra. And Bach Consort and the Messiah Sing sort of got started with players just volunteering their time because they thought it was a cool idea. And then, of course, Riley knew tons of singers because he was accompanying Choral Arts Society at the time. So, and then shortly thereafter, the Cathedral Choral Society. So he knew lots of singers, and he would bring in soloists, and he would find musicians, and all the musicians that play it are a lot of the same people that have been playing forever because they love it, and because it's like what starts their season off. It's just this incredible leaping point for Christmas and preparing and getting in the right mindset. And so many people would literally plan their Thanksgiving weekends so they could be back in time. And we've had people coming almost the entire time. I mean, I've been going since 77, I think. So I don't know, that was pretty close to the beginning. And that I went because I sung in my church choir in Georgetown. I sang with the adults, and they sang some parts of the Messiah, and I just fell in love with that piece. And then my mom, who was singing in the Cathedral Choral Society at the time, said, "Hey, well, our accompanist, J. Riley Lewis, is doing this Messiah sing-along at his church." And so I was like, "Oh, I would love to do it." And so she and I found Clarendon, and there was only room in the balcony, and the bell choir was up in the balcony, and they were playing this sort of pre-Messiah show, and I was just like in heaven. I was just transported. And so that was the first time I met Riley, and I thought he was very old. I was only 17. I was like, ooh, he's cute, but he's old. He actually used to let, if we were running out of room in the church, he would let people actually go sit up in the choir with the soloists. I mean, he did that several times. One of the reasons he loved to keep the audience mixed and not in sections is because to him, everyone being able to hear the different parts is what really creates more a sense of we're working together. We're not just our little section singing by ourselves. And now if you're insecure, you don't know the music, you are welcome to sit with a few people from your section. We, in fact, used to do that a lot, but still, to have a tenor and a bass behind you, oh yeah. It just really made it a magical experience. And Clarendon was just so cozy, and it was always made to be really Christmassy. I think Riley would be very happy that it's continuing, and he was really excited about taking on the Washington Sings as well, because he's just a firm believer in sing-alongs. I mean, for one reason, because even people who aren't like professional singers can participate and feel like they're a part of it. I mean, maybe it's somebody who couldn't even get in their church choir or something. Maybe somebody that's tone deaf. It doesn't matter. I mean, anybody can sing along in a sing-along, so it's a very inclusive, embracing thing. And it draws from people from all walks of life. So he would be very, very, very happy that Clarendon and Lisa are continuing it. That would be the most important thing to him, because it's such a fantastic opportunity for people to come together and share in beautiful music and the spirit of the season, and it also isn't bad that it brings lots of people into Clarendon to see that wonderful church and to know that there is a church that has this kind of amazing music. That would be really important to him. I mean, he was definitely going to stay at Clarendon until he dropped, and he did. He did, just a little sooner than we were hoping. But the church meant so much to him, and he would be so thrilled that that is continuing. It would just mean the world to him, because it meant a lot to him.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. shall reign forever and ever. And he shall reign forever and ever. King of kings, forever and ever. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And Lord of lords, forever and ever. Hallelujah, hallelujah. King of kings, forever and ever. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And Lord of lords, forever and ever. Hallelujah, hallelujah. King of kings, forever and ever. Hallelujah, hallelujah. King of kings and Lord of lords, and he shall reign, and he shall reign, and he shall reign.